call the meeting to order. This is the BOS County Board of Supervisors, Thursday, June the 13th, 2019, 6 p.m. at the School Board Education Center. And we will start with roll call, please.
Supervisor Rivers.
Here.
Supervisor Schoolcraft.
Here.
Supervisor Lunsford.
Here.
Supervisor Castle.
Here.
Supervisor Bates.
Here.
Supervisor Atkins.
Here.
Vice Chairman Robbins.
Here.
Chairman Kilgore.
Here. Bob, will you lead us in prayer, and Robbie will do the pledge.
Please stand with me and we will ask the Lord's blessing for our meeting. Thank you. Precious Lord, thank you for the day. Thank you, Lord, for every blessing. And we know, Lord, that every good thing comes from you. We know, Lord, that there are times every day that we disappoint you. And we just ask, Lord, that you forgive us when we disappoint you. Forgive us when we fail. And we ask, Lord, that you be with us this evening and that we conduct ourselves in a way that is pleasing to you. And we ask these things, Lord, in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the minutes from May the 9th and May the 13th for approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Robbie Robbins and second by J.H. Rivers. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is the approval of the agenda that is in red. They've been only one addition in red. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Robbie made the motion, and John, do you second that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is road and highways. Anybody for roads and highways?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
if I may,
Yes.
thank Jackie Christian while he's here. I've had a couple of issues in my district and it's been handled properly and real quickly, and I appreciate what they do for us. Thank you.
The next is a presentation, and Mr. Hatfield will do the presentation on the county fiscal year budget.
Thank you. The purpose in this presentation is to update the board on what we've been able to do since our May the 13th meeting to further clarify the budget and let you know what's available so that you can make an informed decision when it comes to approval of the budget. At this point, we have adjusted the budget, and what I've presented to you all is a budget of $53,850,182.66 worth of revenues and expenditures, so it will be a balanced budget. And that is down from the $56,700,000 that we had discussed on May the 13th, and we'll go over that in just a minute on how that happened. One of the things I wanted to do was just give you a little rundown on how we had gotten to the May 13th budget. And I think there was questions from different people on that. And basically what we had done is we had gotten all the departments to submit their proposed budgets. When we compared these budgets to our projected revenues, we had about $6.5 million in deficit between the projected revenues and the expenditures. After that, we went through and fine-tuned our projections on the revenues a little better. We were able to come up with approximately $1.5 million more in projections on the revenues. We were a little too conservative, I think, on the first round, and feel a lot better about the projection that we have now. Then we went through each of the budgets for each of the departments except for the school board, and we were able to cut approximately $4 million out of those budgets by trimming some fat that may have been in there, postponing some of the capital outlay projects that they may have had, or just, basically going through and trying to find things that we felt like we could eliminate at this time. And that left approximately $944,000 that we took out of the school board budget. The school board budget for fiscal year 19 was actually $11,474,946.84. The capital outlay had a beginning balance of has a beginning balance for fiscal year 20 of $1,091,383.86. Our required school funding, based on the standards of quality, is $8,837,833. And we have $4,573,910 budgeted in fiscal year 20 for debt service on the schools. That's total school funding projected for this coming year of $16,198,856.84. Misinformation that has been out that we've heard through the grapevine and through other places that we just wanted to correct. Schools were not targeted because they are the easiest to take money from. They were the last to be hit with a reduction after we took everything we could take out of the other projects, and we reduced them by approximately 20%. They use approximately 44% of our local revenues. Discussions of the potential shortfalls were discussed with school board personnel 1 week before the school budget was approved by the school board. We did not discuss dollar figures because we didn't know what they were. There were numbers thrown out anywhere from a few $100,000 up to 1.2 million, but there was no set figure that was given. Wise County is not the lowest funded school in the area. And I know they've talked about per student, but when you look at what we fund, we fund our schools the second highest of any of the schools in the area in total dollars. Washington County being the highest at $27.7 million, and Lee County being the lowest at $5.3 million. Items that have changed since the 513 presentation that I did. In looking, when we had proposed our budget originally, we had proposed, based on a recommendation from Davenport and Company, to take $3.5 million out of our unrestricted fund balance and put it into a restricted account to help pay for the school debt in the future. What we were able to do, and what I didn't realize, and it was brought to my attention by Mr. Rivers, is that we already had a restricted fund with $4.1 million in it. Therefore, there was no reason to take the $3.5 million out of unrestricted and put it in restricted. And that's how we're ending up with a lower budget, because we had $3.5 million in revenues coming out of the unrestricted fund, and then $3.5 million in expenditures going into the new restricted fund. With this, if the board so chooses to do, we can level fund the school division at $1.47 million. we can cover the employee portion of the insurance increases, and we can restore capital projects that have been previously removed. Budgets in the future, and Greg Mullins and I had a very good and productive meeting this past Monday, and we've talked about what we are going to do in the future to make sure that we're all on the same page. Is we're going to begin our budget discussions in July. We are going to have communication that will continue between Greg and I. We look to start communications between the financial officers at the county and at the school board. And if the board so chooses, we'd like to create a committee that consists of 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, 2 members of the school board, the school superintendent, and myself, that will meet on a regular basis to make sure that we're all on the same page and communicating better. The other thing that we would both like to do is create an improved capital improvements plan. The way it stands now, and this is not just the school boards, but it's the county's plan also, is not set up in the way that a capital improvements plan should be, and by next fiscal year, when we vote on one, it will be. And that's one of the first things we'll start on in July, is how to put it together in a way that's more beneficial to both boards and to both staff to get the projects done. The main thing that's here that nobody is going to like is, because of that $4.1 million that we found, and because of having some revenues that are coming in fiscal year 19 that are being dedicated with the 5 cents, there will be $1.5 million less in revenues next year to fund everything at a level funding with this year. So we need to look at all departments taking their fair percentage of what that will be in reductions if the board chooses not to, or if we don't come up with another revenue source or raise the taxes. That is all I have in my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any board member? Any questions?
So, if I may, Madam Chair, Mike, what you're saying is, I saw that we can do as the school board asked us to do, which is level fund them.
That is correct, at $1.47 million, which is what they had budgeted this year.
Which means the money for the raises, which is the big issue, is in the budget for the school board.
They should be, yes.
Well, it is.
I mean, the school, that's up to them on what they do with the
That's
budget,
correct.
once we give it back to them, but there should be sufficient money for those raises.
Of course, the money was there to begin with, but it is definitely there now. So it will be up to the school board as to whether or not they render those raises. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Anybody have any other questions? I've got a little short story I wanted to do very quickly, Madam Chair, if you would indulge. About 35 to 40 years ago, I decided that I was going to run for town council in Appalachia. And soon after making my aspirations public, I was approached by a citizen of the town, a citizen who had a long history of being involved in politics in Appalachia. And he was very candid and respectful to me, but this is what he said, and I quote, and I remember it vividly. He said, "Son, you're not ready for this adventure, and the timing is all wrong. Delay this for a while, and in the meantime, pay attention to what is really going on and how things work in reality. And then reevaluate and ask yourself if you're ready to take on the responsibility of a public servant." So I took his advice. I did not ever again seek a town council seat. But when I thought I was ready, I did seek a seat on the County Board of Supervisors. Eventually, I ran a successful campaign and was elected. And now I have been sitting here doing what I love to do, serving the public, for 16 years. Now, to the point that I'm trying to make, it's actually taken me a while to really understand what that fellow from Appalachia was trying to tell me. His message was that when you take on the responsibility of a public servant, the decisions that you make cannot be based on whether or not you can get reelected, but based on reality and what the right thing to do is. And today, I try to follow that philosophy with every decision that I try to make, or that I make as a county supervisor. Now, having told you my story, let me say this. After this board made the decision to advertise the county budget at our last meeting, most of us here have been subjected to a social media frenzy of attacks. Even the presentation made by Mr. Clark at that meeting was mean-spirited and demeaning, accusing this board of orchestrating a race to the bottom. And I watched Mr. Clark as Mr. Hatfield was making his presentation, and I didn't see too much attention paid to that. The attacks have continued, even to the point of publishing incorrect information and asking for the public to vote those of us who are seeking re-election out of office. All because there is a misconception that funding was not appropriated for your raises. Now, the funding for your raises was there in the beginning, and it's there today. In my 16 years, I've seen this board to be very generous and supportive of the school board. The assassination of county management and county supervisors has not been well received by others in this county. And I can assure you that me, and I speak for myself, will not be intimidated into making a vote based on whether or not I get reelected. My vote will be made based on reality, common sense, and the right thing to do, as I learned many years ago. I will vote in favor of the revised budget Mr. Hatfield has presented, as I do believe that it shows a continuation of support for the school board, the Rice County school system. Education is important, and I applaud the successes of this Rice County school system that have been pointed out to us. Very good. I applaud it. Let us try to move forward and show mutual respect for one another. Given the difficulty of our financial restraints and the stress that comes with making these very important decisions. So all that I have said is, with all due respect to each and every one of the teachers here tonight, the superintendent and the school board, please, let's just try to work together. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments or questions? Well, then I'm going to move to the public hearings. And the first public hearing is the proposed tax exempt status ordinance of the Historical Society of the town, page 14 of your package. Anyone here tonight to speak on the from the Historical Society of the town or about the tax exempt status of this? Not seeing anyone, I will close that public hearing. The next, we have a public hearing, and I'll just say we've got 5 public hearings, so I'm going through. The second one is to propose rezoning property located at 5303 Esserville Road, page 15 of our package. Anyone here speaking on the property that's located at 5303 Esserville Road, rezoning? Anyone here to speak on that? Not seeing anyone here, I will close that public hearing. The third one is a proposed Wise County secondary 6-year plan and secondary system construction budget, page 16 to 18. And we do have a brave soul that's going to get up and tell us something about this. Thank you.
Yes. Madam Chair, board members, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Jackie Christian with the Virginia Department of Transportation. Got just a small presentation concerning our secondary road system for Wise County. I come with you tonight with not a lot of funds, but we do have some. Tele-fee funds, which come from our phone use, and ungranted district grant unpaid road money. For the next 6 years, we have $583,428. With that being said, we have 4 projects currently on the plan. We have a guardrail project, which is throughout the county. Currently, there's about $500,000 in that fund, and then through the next 6 years, we're spending on out to that each year, about $100,000 each year for new guardrail installations. The second project on it is Route 847, which is Carl Johnson's Drive. That's basically, it's a small road off of Route 844 in the Wildcat section of Big Stone Gap. That project is fully funded, and we expect to see some work on that maybe later in the fall or early spring. We were able to add 1 additional unpaved road, which unpaved roads are hard to find in Wise County. But we do have 1 unpaved road. It's in the right-hand fork of the pound area, Route 814, Dingus Hall Road. That one will start accumulating funds beginning in '21, so that'll be our unpaved road. And that's what I have as far as the projects. And if you have any questions concerning the plan?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next is a public hearing. Oh, that was a public hearing. Anyone else to speak on that? Excuse me. Anyone else to speak on that? We're not seeing anyone. I will close that public hearing on the Wise County Secondary 6-year plan. The next public hearing is the proposed special use permit for the cell tower site, page 19. Anyone here to speak on the special use permit for the cell tower? Not seeing anyone, I will close that public hearing at this time. The final public hearing is the proposed county fiscal year 2019-20 budget, and that's page 20 through 23 in our package. The proposed county fiscal year 2019-20 budget. Anyone wants to speak to the budget, it's time to speak.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board, Mr. Hatfield, staff. I'm Greg Mullins, Superintendent for Wise County Public Schools. And I want to start tonight by saying to you what I've always tried to each time I've appeared before you. I'm very appreciative, and our school division is very appreciative of what this board and other boards have done for us for a number of years. I think I've always tried to be careful to say this board's support has allowed us to achieve at the levels that we have over the years. and I'm extremely thankful for that. With your assistance, our school system is, as I pointed out before, one of the highest performing in the state. We're sort of guardedly optimistic that once the final numbers this year are tabulated, that we may very well be the top-ranked school division in the state. And we're thankful to you, and we're thankful to our employees and our students and our families that make that happen every day. We're very appreciative of that. I also want to thank Mr. Hatfield. We've met numerous times. We've talked on the phone numerous times. We can sit together one-on-one, and we don't always agree. We disagree sometimes on facts and figures and numbers, but we have very good dialogue, and I think it will serve us well as we move forward. As Mike said, we had a very good meeting Monday. I talked about some concerns I have. He talked about the concerns of the county, and as I've told you before, each one of you has a daunting task. Trying to manage this county and all that's involved in that. I know that you, like myself, are probably many mornings before 4 a.m. you're wide awake. I find myself in that position quite often. And it's because I think we do take our jobs very seriously. We want this county to move forward. We want it to flourish. We want all of our citizens, students, and all of the citizens of this county to be successful. And certainly during these difficult economic times, it's important for us to work together all the time, all elected and appointed officials, but certainly during these times of economic downturn, it's crucial that we continue to have dialogue. And again, I want to thank Mr. Hatfield. We already have meetings planned. We have some things we're going to work on with our staffs. We want to become more efficient. We want to be part of that. And I think we've got some things planned and some work to do, committees to put together that will allow us to do that. It won't be a simple task. We'll disagree from time to time during those meetings. But as long as we're talking, as long as we're discussing, as long as we're looking for different ways and more efficient ways to do things, I think good things will come. We all are hoping and we're all working to make economic development a big part of what we do every day. We're doing that in the school system as we try to take a different approach to some things we're doing in our career and technical education, changing our curriculum there to hopefully produce students that can find work here, that well-paying jobs, become tax-paying citizens here. I've watched for a number of years since being in the county. Our students perform well. They achieve at high levels. And as I've shared with you before, we export most of them to other places for employment, and we want to keep them here. And I know you do as well. And so I realize with revenues not meeting projections that everybody has to pull together, tighten their belts, and certainly we're prepared to do that. We certainly would hope that all of the shortfall wouldn't occur to one department or one division, but we know that as a school division we have to give our fair share, and I've said that to you before. But the presentation Mr. Hatfield made tonight, I think will allow us to move forward as a school division. I think will help us to recruit and retain the very best people we can. And I think it will allow our students to continue to perform at high levels. And I just want to say thank you. I do realize the task that you have, and I've always shared that with you, but thank you. And all that you can do for our school system, we're certainly appreciative of that.
Anyone else?
Walter Krause, 6855 Hurricane Road. One of our major increasing expenses every year is the regional jail. We must control expenses at the Duffield Regional Jail. Persons held for 3 or more years without trial shall be released on bond unless they are accused of murder, rape, and similar physical assault. Speedy trials are needed to keep population of the regional jail as small as possible. Assign simple offenses to their home, make them work and to reimburse expenses related to their trial. One major source of revenue is going to be significantly reduced. Make news, front page Kingsport paper the other day, Walmart is closing in Big Stone. That's going to be a major decrease in revenue for the town of Big Stone and for the Wise County. We need to keep these stores open. We need to kick butt. These big corporations, all they're interested in making lots of money. And for to the school board, we need to think about regional superintendents. Our systems all across Southwest Virginia are losing students, and we may be able to save some significant money by having one superintendent over 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 counties. We need to consolidate bus routes and make adjustments so fewer days are lost to snow and weather. The old departments, supposedly, we're supposed to be consolidating purchases so we don't duplicate and get savings by larger purchase. I don't know if this has been done. We need to do this. Departments, as far as Wise County, the courthouse, and we need to do with the school board, the school system, and the county, and we need to look at doing this regionally. Now, for your committee, your proposed, I propose in addition to taxpayers should be involved in this, since we have to pay the taxes, and we have a different, we can look at things differently from what the county wants to spend and what the school board wants to spend. We have to keep paying increasing property taxes. And we also need to force for everybody to do as much recycling as possible and do regional. I'll bring that up when we have a public hearing. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak on the public hearing for the budget, 2019-20?
Harold Greer, Pound, Virginia. First of all, I would like to say I do think it's regrettable that the original budget is not being adopted. The reason we're in this mess is the $4 million in debt service we have to pay for the school building program. You can't get around it. Now, the school board had a choice a long time ago. They could choose buildings or they could choose people. They chose buildings. Now, you will recall that Superintendent Perry stated that if tax increases were required, if we had problems with the funding of it, it could be taken from the school system. And I find it remarkable that that's about the same amount that the county is paying the school system in excess of what the state requires. Now, the teachers' salaries were guaranteed by the state. And frankly, our school system is dependent to a large extent on state and federal money. No one's salary or salary increase was endangered by the cuts that were proposed in the county budget. But you cannot continue level funding the school board without more and more tax increases. We have had 3 straight tax increases, 2 by direct rate increases and 1 by increasing values of the property. And many of the taxpayers in this county cannot stand it. The school system, now I will say this, I do think Superintendent Mullins has done a fairly good job. But in the past, the school system, by running up these debts, has shown an arrogance to the taxpayers of Wise County that is absolutely irresponsible. I'll give you a good example of that. They closed Appalachia Elementary School after they spent $2 million on a gym there. Then closed it, even though there was not really a significant drop in enrollment. Now, it appears to me, judging by what has come out now, they probably had the money to keep it open. They just wanted to close it, and yes, it did help them out in their internal budget, but it didn't help the taxpayers out at all. But when they closed Appalachia down, they left a smaller elementary school open, and that was St. Paul. Why didn't they close St. Paul? Well, I asked a member of the school board about it, and he told me because they were making money on St. Paul because of the Russell County students. Well, folks, they were doing that with St. Paul High School, but they closed it. Why did they close it? Because the people at St. Paul went along with the other towns that were opposed to consolidation. They closed it to show them that we can close your school whenever we want to. Now that school was not costing the county any money. In fact, just making a little bit of money. And of course, there's another reason they won't close St. Paul, and that's the fact those kids will go to Russell County. And that will cost the county money. Well, they realize it now, but they didn't realize it then. So in effect, they were spitting in the face of the taxpayers of this county when they closed that high school. They didn't care whether it cost the county any money or not. And that is the problem. In many cases, they have taken actions that are fiscally irresponsible. Now, this board, to some extent, has aided and abetted them by not cutting their budget as it should be cut. But it's an absolute disgrace that people in Pound and Appalachia and St. Paul, after having their high schools closed, are having their taxes raised to pay for these high schools, when the cost of those high schools should be covered by the existing school budget and not by tax increases on the taxpayers of Wise County. Now, everybody wants a good school system, but the reality is we are a small, rural, impoverished county. In the past, we overfunded our school system, and we had the money, we could do it, but we don't have it anymore. And at some point, somebody is going to have to put their foot down and say, we simply can't extend this fiscal irresponsibility. Now, it may not come this year, but it's going to come next year or the years after. And the taxpayers are going to get tired of it. They're going to get tired of having their taxes raised. Are they going to have to be raised every year? That's something this board needs to consider, and that is in front of this board. So while it's very good to say right now, level funding is wonderful, in the future it is unsustainable. Wise County has made several mistakes. The school system has made mistakes. We had a school system that overextended the number of employees it had in every field. And now that we're losing students, it's had trouble reducing them. Yes, it has retired people, but that costs money. You know, if a business loses business or things go down, they lay people off. Everybody's reluctant to do that. Nobody wants to see anybody lose a job. But it's going to have to happen eventually. Last year, the superintendent's annual report showed that we had 391 first graders in Wise County. And that number is likely to drop in the future. We know this, and we're going to have to be prepared to handle it. And it seems to me that no one is willing to take the responsibility. The only thing that's being done is having the cost shuttled on to the taxpayer. And that's especially true in the towns that have lost schools. I'm particularly referring to Pound, to Appalachia, and to St. Paul. Thank you.
Anyone else? And I'm going to ask that you keep your comments to about 3 minutes and give your name and address when you speak.
Paul Clark. I live at 146 Azalea Lane, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. I'm the president of Wise County Education Association and a member of the VEA. I teach at Union Primary School. I want to thank you for revisiting your proposal from last month. And I'm impressed that you have now found a way to level fund us. The teachers in Wise County are our future. We are teaching your future. I'm glad to hear that what I proposed at the end of last year in May, that the county board and the board of supervisors are now planning on meeting together to discuss things, so we don't get together like this again. You need to have a committee where you bounce things off of each other and work together and work with the community, because I know each of you represents your towns. You do. I know Appalachia's losing their Save-A-Lot. Big Stone's losing to Walmart. Wise is losing numerous restaurants in the past couple of months. Virginia's on an economic recovery, but it seems around here that we're not. We just need to figure out how to invite people here, and education is one of the ways. People look at the schools. Well, I was at the school board meeting Tuesday night, and Dr. Mullins presented numerous school awards. We have children in this county who are state swimmers, track indoor, tennis runner-ups, baseball, art, music, forensics. You can go on. And the teachers are here supporting those people. So I appreciate you revisiting the level funding and hope that you vote for it tonight. Because funding our future is the most important thing. I'll be gone soon, you will be gone soon, but the children will be here to carry on. We just have to realize what kind of economy do we want to maintain here. We don't want the backpackers to take over. We want people to come in here who are intelligent, who can set up businesses, who can invite more people so our schools can grow. We're all educators, whether you teach or not in this room. There are intelligent people here. We do realize that without businesses, we're going to have people move out. Some of your teachers are working in those businesses that are closing, in second and third jobs, to make ends meet. It's a hard economy. We do realize this. We all went to school. God chose us and called us to do our job. We're taking care of the children. We've done our job. We meet school accreditation all the time, not just this year. Wise County used to be the lighthouse. Let's continue to be the lighthouse. Let's keep the light on. Let's find ways to put things in abandoned buildings. Let's find ways to talk to each other and find funding. The other counties around us are doing it. Somebody's doing it. Somebody's figuring it out. If you need to sit with other counties, maybe that's the answer to the solution to the problem. Talk to other counties and see what they're doing. I don't know. And I'm not saying that you don't do your job, but communication is a great thing. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Kim McKee, 2214 Pennington Gap Highway, Bigstone Gap, Virginia. I first want to say thank you to all of you and to Mr. Mullins. I couldn't do your job. I know there's things you deal with we're not aware of, and I'm glad I'm not aware of. I couldn't go through all this and all the things he mentioned. I just wanted to make a comment about what happened last month and what brought us all here today. As teachers, our job every day comes from our heart. Every day, just like Mr. Lunsford's story. We take our job seriously because we've got those little faces looking back at us. We're so responsible for their lives. And I may have misunderstood you, Mr. Lunsford, but when you were telling your story and you were talking about when the teachers heard the news last month and we were worried about our raises weren't the first thing on our minds. It was, what is this going to do for the future of our schools? That's what we were thinking about. That's a huge number to us. These millions of dollars you all talk about regularly, I don't think about those big numbers. Like I said, that's for your all's brains to do. But when we hear that, our fear is the children that we see every day that are struggling now, the children that we work so hard with so they won't drop out of school, so that they'll be successful. That's what we worry about. And so maybe I misunderstood you, but it wasn't about our raises. I could care less about that. I've worked for less. And I've always made it. My God provides all my needs. So I just want to make that clear, that the people that are here, we're not here because we're afraid you to take our raise. We're here because we're afraid those children that look to us every day and love us, that their future will be safe. And that's what we were concerned about. Thank you for level funding us. Thank you for figuring all this out for us so that we don't have to. But I just wanted to make that clear. My heart's beating fast right now, but it's because this is dear to my heart, as it is to these guys back here that came tonight. And I know other people that couldn't be here as well. It's those faces that we think about because it's their future. We hold their future. We're responsible for that, and that's a big, big job. Thank you all.
Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else? Get up here.
I'm on my way. Hello, I am Justin Necessary, and I live here in Wise on 202 Warner Street. I came out here tonight because of education. Education is what I chose to do with my life because of the children, like she was talking about, looking at their faces. I spent early part of my career working in high schools as a teacher, and then I went to Mountain Empire and I worked for outreach programs. I worked in every single school in Wise County plus John I. Burton, plus Lee County, went to Abingdon, worked in all the schools, Washington County and the areas around there. It is the students. But the thing here is something that somebody said earlier, was that we're losing students. Like, we're losing them when they leave. Well, of course we are. I mean, what do we offer? I mean, you know, we have very little jobs for them here. So little opportunity. Every student that I talked to when I worked in the high schools or the middle schools, I asked them what they wanted to do. And their response every single time was, what I want to do is not available here. Well, what is it? And they would say, does it matter? I guess not really, because there's nothing here for them. And I'll give you another example. I've lived in Wise my whole life. Most of you know my dad and most of my family. Being Necessary, there's not too many of us around. But I chose here. I chose to come back here. I chose to live here. I came back, worked in Mountain Empire, then Abingdon, and then I had a chance to work as a faculty member, as a professor. I wanted to do that here. But UVA-Wise doesn't offer anything in what I do, what I have my doctorate in. It's in education, higher education. So I live here, but my paychecks come from Phoenix, Arizona, and Lynchburg, Virginia, Grand Canyon, and also Liberty. I have 2 children here, 4 and 2.5. And it pains me a great deal to see that education here is not at the, maybe not taken with enough seriousness. But it's also a charge for the whole county together. I mean, what do we offer? We seem to kind of be at a stalemate in a lot of ways. We seem to be, the industry leaves, businesses leave, but they don't come in. They don't stay here. We don't get those things. If you want to keep people here, then find a way to get them a job. If you want to tell students, Wise is the place that you love, the place you want to be, the place you want to stay. But there's no jobs for you here. There's no opportunity for you here. You have to go somewhere else. And I spent a lot of time outside of Wise, for graduate school and other jobs. And all those students, most of them, they would leave for very specific things. But those places took the students and the youth so serious that they realized that they could build their area on them. And it seems to me right now that we are just suffocating both the students, because they have to leave, but they're also suffocating all of us in terms of taxes or no opportunities for people. It saddens me a great deal to see population decrease. It saddens me to hear students have to go somewhere else, or somebody's laid off, or somebody's lost their job, or can't find one here, period. Extremely intelligent, capable people. They have to go somewhere else. All because we don't take them that serious, it seems. We don't try. I don't know. I'm not on the board of supervisors, I'm not on the school board. But it is something, that's a problem, I think, something we need to address. And education has to be viewed as our future. And our teachers, in the middle schools, primary schools, elementary schools, high schools, they are the ones that are going to keep students here, teach them what they have, what they have to know, but ingrain into them the ability that Wise cares for them. as much as they care for Wise. So, thank you very much. God bless, and hope all of you have a wonderful day. Thanks.
I want to remind you, we're talking about this budget, so anybody else want to comment on the budget right now? Anyone else for budget?
Name's Drew Mullins, 16715 Lee Street in St. Paul. I think the last time I talked to you all was 8 years ago or so. Mike, I don't envy your job right now at all. I really don't. Been there, it's a hard job. My concern tonight is not only about the school system itself. First of all, I just thank each and every one of you all for being here, being this concerned about your community and your jobs and the school system in general. I'm a product of the county system, and without teachers like you all, none of us in this room probably would be here. But it's past time that teachers pay for their own school supplies out of their own funds, or worry about whether or not they're going to have a job next year because, you know, funds just aren't there because revenues hadn't been, sought or realized before. It shouldn't be year after year on this. But why in the world are we in this shape right now? You know, this budget covers most everything. You're level funded. There have been some reductions in county budget itself, some departments. But again, why are we here? What happened? I believe, Mr. Robbins, I think I pulled a quote from you 2010, 2011. You asked how much can we afford to take on in debt? You were told $42 million, right? What did we take out? 62, 69? We were in the middle of a economic disaster. Of course, coal around here was doing absolutely fantastic. The town of Coburn, for example, we were bringing in coal severance tax of 100,000 plus. My entire 6 years I was in Coburn, I budgeted for 5,000. This board never saw the foresight to do any of that. That's why we're here today. Not only do you have the school system to worry about now, but we have a fire and rescue emergency occurring in the county now. We have that, another decline in revenue, a decline in population, which means a decline in real estate and personal property taxes. Those of you who are in the towns or on the boards or anything, we must take action as far as allowing our youth to come in, to actually support our youth, whether they be elected to boards, town councils, serve the community, whatever. My concern, though, is this budget won't go far enough. We're going to be right back in the same situation that we are in right now next year. And Mike, you and I have had this conversation before, and some of the meetings we've been in. I have a great concern with this county, with this budget currently going through. I hope that the revenue is there because you're going to keep pulling from your fund money for the school debt. You keep taking that for level fundings, and we can't do that. We have to sustain, we have to pay our bills. You have to pay your school costs. And not to mention, this budget also increases taxes for is this the third time now in the last 10 years, third or fourth? Yet in 2010, we were told no more tax increase, a tax increase won't occur for 20 years. We're at 3 right now. Next year, we're going to go again. I am absolutely certain of it. Another tax increase. Probably another one after that. We got to look forward to this, guys. You have to make better. And Fred, I applaud what you said earlier. It's a tough choice. Each and every one of you all have a hard job. And so let's stop thinking politics and whether or not we can get reelected, get put on a paid board. Think in your political reelection campaigns, whatever. Stop thinking that way. Actually think about the people. Think about the teachers. Think about the kids of tomorrow. Thank you.
Anyone else to talk about the budget?
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Tammy Caldwell. I live at 5713 Rock Bar Road in Wise. I am a 20-year teacher at Coburn Middle School. For the past about 7 years, I've taught civics and economics. And the one point I'd like to make to you all is one of the SOLs that I teach is the correlation between education and higher pay. And, you know, it equates to the higher education you have, the higher pay you should receive. And I always get the question from my students, Ms. Caldwell, why, if you've been to college, do you have to have 2 jobs? Even my 7th graders understand that. I'd just like to put that out there for you. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Anyone else? We're not seeing anyone. I'm going to close the public hearing for the budget. The next, we have public expression. And anyone who wants to speak in public expression, come up, give me your name and address. Are you coming back, Walter? Or you come right on. Give me your name and address. Try to keep it to 3 minutes.
Walter Kraus, 6855 Hurricane Road. I'm back here as chair of Keep Wise County Beautiful. We need to get in big time recycling. We don't get things straightened out. We got to put some pressure on the incompetence that resides in Richmond. We lost our recycling purchaser that was in Kingsport, so the whole region is under the gun now because we don't have anybody about to take our plastic. We need to recycle. People need to put the cardboard in the blue box. Stop throwing it in that big garbage can. It takes 2 seconds to bust the boxes up and put them in the blue box. We have to look at doing a regional recycling. They made a trip down to Sevierville, which I would like to have gone, but I couldn't because of health. That we need to get costs of this. And I've got some ideas. I'll get very cross the next time we have Keep Wise County Beautiful Me, how we can make more out and create mulch that we can use at the landfill, to cover material. But we've got to look very strongly at recycling. We've lost more businesses. Restaurants have closed, Walmart's closing, Magic Mart closed. All these people recycle cardboard. Now we need to get the individuals living in the county, stop throwing away your cardboard. Let's recycle it until we can, as long as we can, recycle all your plastic, 1 and 2s. Recycle your aluminum cans, take down here to Colburn and get some money for those. And any metal you might have. So we need to work very strongly on trying to do as much recycling as possible and keep this landfill going, because when it gets filled up, it's going to cost us big bucks to reclaim it, because it's a strip mine site, and that's nowhere, you've got that anywhere in your budget. And so then what do we do with the trash after the landfill is cleaned up, closed? And so we need to look very strongly at getting regional recycling and handling of our waste materials. Thank you.
Anyone else for public expression?
Actually talk about what I came to speak about tonight. Harold Greer, 9326 Mill Creek Road, Pound. What I'm here to do tonight is to ask the Board of Supervisors to consider passing a resolution thanking the General Assembly and urging them not to repeal the War Monuments Act that is now in existence. Right now, several cities in Virginia, particularly Charlottesville, are interested in tearing down monuments to Confederate soldiers. Many of us in this county, I'm one of them, are the descendants of Confederate soldiers and Confederate veterans officers. The Charlottesville City Council also passed a resolution last week condemning fossil fuels and stating that they were going to disinvest from any fund that had a connection to fossil fuels. Now that is a direct act in hostility to Southwest Virginia. There is no depth to what the liberal scum that has come into this state from outside it will stoop to do. And when I call liberal scum, I mean it, they are. It's an absolute tragedy that Virginia has sunk to this point. But I hope that you would consider passing a resolution both to tell the General Assembly that we need to keep our monuments, but also to tell the Charlottesville bunch to send a message to them that there is a Southwest Virginia, that we do depend on fossil fuels, and that we do exist separately from Charlottesville, that the world does not revolve around them. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I am closing. You better done.
Tyler Hughes, 7 East 5th Street.
What was the last name?
Hughes,
Okay.
7 East 5th Street, Big Stone Gap. I just wanted to say thank you especially to Supervisor Schoolcraft for stopping by this week, the mayor, and myself. Of course, other members of the Big Stone Gap community have been dealing with the news of our Walmart closing, and Mr. Schoolcraft stopped by this week when the mayor and I were out supporting some of our residents who have been rallying for jobs. So I just wanted to say thank you and ask for any and all support that this board can give, and say thank you in advance. You know, you've heard plenty tonight about job loss, and it's no surprise to anybody in this room that working class people are struggling all over Southwest Virginia. So any support that you can offer is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I close public expression. And we go to the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion. One of the things that a lot of people may not realize in the consent agenda is that part of it is a resolution for opposing the closure of the Flatbush Job Corps. So we are sending a resolution out for that, along with the CIP plan, and a resolution in recognition of the remote area medical event, the RAM, that's coming up. And we also had an ordinance proposed ordinance to rescind the Transportation Safety Commission.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
John seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is we've got some unfinished business. We got a proposed ordinance tax exempt status for the Historical Society of the Pound on page 28 and 29. Do I hear a motion on that to put it on the floor?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Fred made the motion and Bobby made the second. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next item is a proposed rezoning of property located at 5303 Esserville Road, page 30 of the package. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second. Bobby beat me.
Okay, Bob Atkins made the motion and Bobby Castle second. Any discussion on it? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next item is the resolution approving Wise County Secondary 6-Year Plan and Secondary System Construction Budget, page 31 of the package. Do I have a motion to put it on the floor?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
J.H. made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
John Schoolcraft, second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The next item is the proposed special use permit for a cell tower in page 32 in your package. Do I have a motion to put it on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Robbie Robbins made the motion. Fred Lunsford second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next item is the approval of the 4/11/2019 minutes. The clarification of the minutes are in red, and that's page 33 to 35. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Rivers, second. Robbie made the motion. Robbie Robbins and J.H. Rivers, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, say nay. Okay, that passes. The next, we move on to new business. We've got an amended resolution designating funding for the high school debt service and county construction project, page 36 of our package.
Motion to approve.
Robbie Robbins made the motion. Do I have a second? And Steve Bates, second. For the audience, Ms. Mullins, would you explain what that resolution is? That was just clarifying what we had done in a prior meeting.
Yes, back in 2007, the Board of Supervisors committed and assigned $9 million towards high school improvement projects. What this ordinance or this amended resolution does is the remaining dollars continue to be committed, but they're committed for debt service for the projects that are now completed. And we've also, based on discussions during the adoption of the recent 7-cent tax increase, committed 5 cents of the 7 cents into assigned or committed funds. 3 cents will be for that additional dollars towards the debt service for the high school projects that are now completed. 2 cents will be for county building projects, including there has been discussion with the needs for social services and other county departments, which all will come through this board to approve any of those obligations. But these monies will be placed into this committed fund, and they will take board action to be uncommitted. So it takes that away from the administration unless the board is actually involved in addressing expenditures from those committed dollars. And that's what this resolution does. It would be recognized by our auditors as a, I think the terminology and the chairman may, I've used assigned or committed, but I think the auditors have a, I think it's committed is the proper term.
Any questions, Ms. Mullins, on this? Any discussion?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Just FYI, even though we're establishing this fund and we're taking money out of this year to help pay the school debt, this time next year, with what Ms. Mullins said, when we're adding 3 cent real estate tax and the 2 cent for county debt projects, we will have more in that fund this time next year as we currently have this year. So I support it because I think it's a good thing. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
And the purpose of that is to assure that we try to have the money available for the school debt. But we have to have so much coming in from the general fund to help meet that debt. We can't just, this fund would disappear very quickly if we started removing the whole payment. But it's when we are a few $100,000 here and there and try to be conservative with it. We want it to last till the bonds are all paid, is the objective. Okay, let's vote on it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. It passes. The next is a retainer agreement with Wise County and Thompson and Litton as consultant and advisor for a community service facility project. It's page 37. Do I have a motion to put this on the table?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Schoolcraft made the motion and Rivers second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is a MOU number 1, agreement on the consultant and advisor on the community service facility project, page 38 and 39. Do I have a motion for that? Schoolcraft made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Castle? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is the ARCTV contract agreement renewal, page 40 and 41.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Robinson made the motion and Rivers seconded it. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we talked about doing the contract.
That-
forward.
Well, they made the motion. We didn't, no one made the motion to put it off till the recess meeting.
I made a motion.
Well, we've got to deal with this motion first.
Well, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I can make a substitute motion, and we can entertain that before their motion.
Yes.
So my substitute motion is that we postpone this until our recess meeting to give us an opportunity to look at the terms and conditions of the current contract, which need to be changed, obviously, because of the way it reads, and give us the opportunity to revamp that and come back to the table and see if that's what we want to do, or if we want to abandon that completely. So that's my substitute motion, postpone this to our recess meeting.
Second.
Who said second? Bobby.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
hearing Mr. Lunsford's comments, I will withdraw my second. And the reason that I'm supporting the TV is because how important I think it is for us to be transparent. But it is part of our budget, which we're going to be voting on at a recess meeting, so I can accept waiting until the recess meeting and give you more opportunity to review the contract. So I'll withdraw my second, Madam Chair.
Do you withdraw your motion? Okay, so the first motion is withdraw. Are we all procedurally correct?
Yes, we need to vote on the motion that Mr. Lunsford.
Yes. Okay, so the first motion's been withdrawn, and we'll vote on Mr. Lunsford's motion that Bobby Castle second. So any further discussion? And one thing it mentioned in this other agreement that they would be taping the school board meetings, and that's never happened in the contract. So, or the copy I have of the contract said that. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. So that is put over until the recess meeting. The next item is the resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between Wise County and PSA for issuance of water sewer bond and authorizing the execution of support agreement under the extra sewer treatment plant, page 42 and 44. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that Robbie Robbins? John Schoolcraft? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The next, we have a budget amendment on page 45, if you'll look at those, and do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Robbie Robin made the motion, do I have a second?
Second. I will second.
Is that Bob second, or
Either one.
Bob Ashton second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is we have some appointments on page 46 and 47. So the first one is, the first one is the Transportation Highway Safety Commission, but we just finished getting rid of that committee because it wasn't necessary now.
We've set a public hearing because it's an ordinance. We have to have a public hearing at our next meeting, and then the request is to rescind that. It's no longer a required body by the state of Virginia.
So can we then table this until next month's meeting?
Yes.
Because there's no need to appoint people if we remove this committee. So I need a motion to table these two appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jay second, and Robbie made the motion. So any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is the Board of Zoning Appeal, and it's the 4th District, and it's Mike Holbrooks is holding this, and we have a letter in support of him being reappointed. So
Madam Chairman, I make the motion to reappoint Mike Holbrook.
Robbie makes the motion, and I'll second that motion, because it's from the 4th District. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next is Lenawisco Board of Director. We've got, District 3 has a member expiring, so we need an appointment for that. Y'all,
Madam Chairman, I recommend we appoint Robert Bloomer, he's going to go town council to continue the service.
okay. Do I have a second? So with J.H. Rivers appointed Robert Bloomer that's holding the position now, and John Schoolcraft second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, we're back then to the agenda item. We got the first quarter appropriations, and since we don't have a budget, we sure can't appropriate anything. So we will have to table that to the recess meeting. Do I hear a motion to table that?
Motion to table, Madam Chair.
And do I have a second?
Second. Steve.
Steve. Okay. So Bob Atkins make the motion, Steve Bates second that. Okay, the next item is a discussion to cancel the July board meeting. Should we hold that off? Let's table that till
We need to
next.
vote on that table.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did. I'm sorry. All in favor of the tabling that to the recess meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. I was thinking about this cancellation of the board. We need to table that too, because we don't know that or will we recess the June meeting into July if we need to?
That's just
We could recess that into July.
And just, because will be recessed, we could just, if we need to meet, we can just recess June's.
Right.
But so we can go ahead and table the July meeting.
That would be proper
I
at
think
this
that
time.
We could do that, since we'll come back in June again to address the budget, since we have to wait the mandatory period of time. So we'll be coming back in June, and then we could recess. So you could do it either way, whatever the board's discretion.
What do you want to do? Table it to the recess meeting? Give me a motion to table it to the recess.
motion to table.
Second.
Who? Bobby second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And we did not cancel, we tabled it. Okay. Do we need to go in closed session?
No, we do.
So the next is,
County Administrator's report.
yeah, county administrator's report.
I will follow up. A group of us did take a trip to Sevierville to visit their MRF, which is a recycling facility. It is a very interesting process that they use there, and they are basically recycling approximately 70% of their waste. They are creating a compost that they give to their citizens or give to groups within their county, farmers, whoever may need it. And it was an interesting prospect that we feel like we need to potentially look at pursuing on a regional basis with other within the Lenawisco Planning District and the Cumberland Plateau Planning District and potentially the Mount Rogers to get a sufficient volume for it to be operationally feasible for us to do something similar to that. So it was a very good trip. We learned a lot, and it was something that we at least need to investigate the possibility of for Wise County and for this region.
Did you say that 70% of the garbage was recycled?
Yes, sir.
Would they have some digester? I didn't get to go.
Yes, they do have they actually have 5 digesters. Obviously, we would not have the volume that they have. We could probably get by with 2. But it is a very, very complex process, but it creates something that is a usable product that if you had more than you could get rid of, it would be very good to use on abandoned mine lands to help make them suitable for future farming, things of that nature. So there are a lot of good prospects that could come out of this if it ended up happening.
Is it solids or is it semi-liquid?
It's solids. It is a dry compost, and it's a Class A compost, so you can use it on food products or anything. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the Big Stone Gap Walmart. As all of you all are aware, I did some investigating with Walmart. I talked with one of the directors from the southeast region of Walmart, and there is really no chance in their opinion that they are going to reverse their decision. It started out being an issue with the lease and the cost of continuing to operate that store with the lease payment they were paying, and then it ended up being, once it started going up the ladder at Walmart, it ended up being an issue that that store really does not meet their market that they're after right now. So even if we were able to help them negotiate a new lease, it would not, they say they would not come back. I did ask them to consider, which they had not considered, the possibility of a neighborhood market, because one of the issues they have with that store is that it's not big enough to offer groceries. So I've asked them to consider to just offer groceries there, but that's something they were going to look at, and we'll get more information from them in the future. But the other thing that I would say is I was down there the day after they were told. I went down there to meet with some people with Walmart, and I will give kudos to the staff and management of that Walmart. Everybody that was in there had smiles on their face. They worked as if it was just any other day that they were working, instead of the day that after they found out they were being closed. So very good. Says a lot about the work ethic and the people in Wise County on what they do. And the last thing I've got on Walmart is, in my discussions with this regional director, she did say, based on their interviews with the associates at Walmart, they thought if it was agreeable to the associates that they could potentially place all 81 of those associates in different stores in the area. Not sure how that would work out, because it would mean that some of them would have to drive, but at least there's the possibility of employment for them. And it was good news to me from Walmart that potentially those people won't be put out of work. That's all I've got, Madam Chair.
County Attorney,
No report.
board comments. Mr. Rivers?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just 2 or 3 items. Maybe the last meeting or 1 or 2 meetings ago, I relayed some comments I've received from constituents concerning nursing equipment at Lonesome Pine Hospital. And I've been assured by more than one nurse there that that's not true, that they have the equipment that they need. And I did not call, did not follow up to see what the situation was, so I apologize to those nurses. I did not intend to offend them. Just want to make sure that we do have good operational equipment, to ensure that we do. And along with that lines, I'm encouraged and want to encourage our staff to continue to work with Ballard. Our hospitals in Wise County are so important to us. It's a very vital part of our economic development. We have to have them. And from what I understand, there's some good news on the forefront that there's going to be continued communications. So I think that's good. Communications is so important, and trying to protect our hospitals and save our region and our economy is vital. On that same line, Mike, I want to thank you for what you've done for the Walmart situation, the calls that you made, the contacts you made. The one thing that you haven't mentioned that you and I have talked about, we have to work with the developer of Valley Shopping Center and that landlord. There has to be an anchor store up there. If it's not, if Walmart's saying definitely, we're not interested, we're leaving, then we have to work with that developer. If it's our county, if it's our IDA, if it's the town of Big Stone Gap, it should be all of us working together, that we encourage a strong anchor to come in there. We don't need to lose a single store up there. I'm not just concerned about stores up there, I'm concerned about McDonald's down below it. We could lose that whole, everything in that whole hillside there. And that won't be just drastic to the town of Big Stone Gap, even though it's in the corporation limits. That impacts this whole county. And Fred, just like the same thing with Save-A-Lot in Appalachia. If there's any way that this county can work with those people to bring something else into that building, it looks like we're going to leave Food City with the only grocery store in our area down there. So anything we can do, I think, to work on the situation in Appalachia will be vital to this whole county as well. That's all I have, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Schoolcraft?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you folks for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. But more than showing up here tonight, I appreciate what you do on a daily basis. If you were here for money, and that's all you're here for, it'd be a sad situation because you'd be miserable in your job. And I know that you are here for these students, and I appreciate that. The other thing, Greg Mullins and Mike Hatfield, I commend you guys for getting together. If we're going to be successful in our county, we're going to have more collaboration, and particularly when you look at the school board and the board of supervisors. There has to be a collaborative effort in order for us to overcome some of the obstacles that we face, and communication is a key piece in that. So I'm glad to see the meetings that have taken place. I'm glad to see that there will be a continuation of those meetings. The other thing, we've talked about revenue sharing with some other counties. I think it's critical that we have the same kinds of meetings with county administrators from those counties, because if you go as Wise County to buy supplies or equipment, you're one group. But if you go as a 7-county group, we should be able to get some kind of a discount and have greater purchasing power. So when I talk about collaboration, it's not just here in our county, it's across the region. And we really need to work on that. Communication, again, is a big piece of that. The Walmart situation, we do need an anchor store there. And there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes on trying to perhaps work with Walmart or work with the landlord and get a business in there. We desperately need that. JH is right about the hospitals. We need to continue working on that. I'm on the board of Lonesome Pine Hospital, was in a meeting this morning, and I know that they're in the process of hiring additional nurses that are graduates of Mountain Empire and UVA Wise. They're also working to establish an intern program with those two schools, which I think is a very positive thing as far as keeping our students here, providing jobs. Drew Mullins, where are you? This is an opportunity to provide jobs for people here in our area. And we need to continue focusing on things like that. The more communication, the more collaboration we can have, the more able we'll be to overcome these obstacles. There was some mention last meeting about Mike and I being on a visioning advisory committee for ballot. We are both on that committee, and there's an opportunity there to shape the vision for Southwest Virginia healthcare with ballot. We will be having 6 meetings, 2 a month, starting in July, and we'll go from there and see what we do. But I'm thankful that we have some people who are local people on that committee to express our interest in what we can do here and what we need here. We're looking for jobs here. I've beat on this and beat on this, and I continue to beat on it, but rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals are used in everything electronic. China produces 90+% of the world's rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals are found in coal waste. We're sitting on a gold mine. But there has to be an economically feasible method of extracting those rare earth minerals from coal waste. We need to push that process along so that we get that established. That'll be jobs for us, it'll be income for the county, and we reduce our dependence on a foreign supplier. Collaboration, working together, communication, that's what it's about. And again, I thank you for being here. Thank you.
Mr. Lunch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things, Mike. On this trip that we made to Seville, that was a very good trip, very informative. I just want to know that you have an active plan in your mind to start the process of collaborating with Little Wisco and the Cumberland District Plateau. I think the only way that this initiative will be successful is for us to regionalize. But we've got to start the process immediately. So,
and we've actually had a meeting with Cumberland Plateau, Little Wisco, and Mount Rogers. Before this, that's what got me interested in the Sevierville MRF.
okay.
So they are on board with doing something. It's just a matter of keeping it moving. So we are moving. We are working on that.
Great. The other thing is, Judge, I appreciate your comments about Appalachia, the fact that we're losing Save-A-Lot. It kind of seems like the loss of Walmart is sucking all the air out of our issues, and what's happening in Appalachia kind of pushed aside. But just to bring you up to speed, we in Appalachia like to think that we spend a lot of time pulling our own selves up our own bootlaces, and we do have a couple of options for the Save-A-Lot store, but I think we need to throw in another option. You talked to Walmart about putting a community market in. Now, Big Stone, JH, has Food City. We will have nothing in Appalachia. So that Save-A-Lot store would be a good location for a Walmart community market. And they'd be far enough apart. So let's kind of keep Appalachia on the radar screen as well. And Mike, if we could possibly do as you have done with Walmart and contact the Houchins group that owns the Save a Lot chain and just kind of get a feel for what their plans are. And if there's any way that we can salvage that store, I understand it's a not just Appalachia they're saying it's created a problem. Actually, Appalachia store is more profitable than the ones that they're thinking about closing as well. But be a good thing if we could get some assistance from the county, as did Big Stone with regard to Walmart. So, and I want to thank all these teachers for coming out tonight and supporting your endeavors and your concerns, and don't ever want anybody to think that any of us up here are hard to get along with or anything of that nature. We, as I said before, it's my goal that we all work together. We're all family and neighbors in this county, and we don't need to be demonizing anybody. I know that you folks do a great job teaching our children. One of the things that we don't need to teach our children is that they can get on social media and be ill-mannered and there are no repercussions. They see that in the adults. That goes on a lot. I don't do Facebook. If Facebook was used the way it was designed, it would be a good communication tool, but it's used totally incorrectly. It's used in evil ways, and so I just don't do it. I choose not to do it. But our children see what we do and how we conduct ourselves in the public and on social media, and we're teaching them that. So we need to police ourselves and be better, more respectful to one another. And I appreciate all that you do. I'm very proud of the Wise County school system. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Casson. Mr. Bates.
I just want to thank Mike and Greg for working together, and thank you, Mike, for the budget that you've come out with. Appreciate it. I think, like John said, communication is the most important thing we can have between the school system and board supervisors, that it needs to be a continued part of our everyday life, every month to meet and to have a committee so we know where we're at and where we're going, and know beforehand before we get to this point, be surprised at things that comes on. And I just appreciate the teachers coming here. They work hard. I worked for 34 years with these teachers, and I can tell you that it's harder today than it was when I first started, because the culture's different, the kids are different. It's a different way, used to you fight and get it over with. Now it's more a lot of different distractions, kids, where they're coming from and stuff. And as teachers, you got to know where they're coming from, because these kids are looking for love and personal attention. They're wanting somebody to show that they're important. And I think all these teachers do that job. And if it wasn't for these teachers, we wouldn't have kids going out in the workforce as we do. And like Mr. Necessary said, I was thinking about my kids. They all left. But what do we raise them for? We raise them to do the best they can be. And we put our education system does that. And even if they don't stay, we know they're successful everywhere they go. And it makes you proud that you know that they're successful and they're able to make it. And one day I hope that we do have jobs. And at the college, UVY will have courses that will teach these kids. And we'll have jobs here that we can put in our school system that will keep kids here. But right now we don't. But that's what we've got to work toward, to bring more changes in that. We need to talk to UVY. They need to change their course of studies too, to bring about keeping kids here. And the type of courses, we need more scientific courses, sciences and stuff, and technology. That the world's changing, and we've got to change with it. We can't stop it. And these teachers I see, at the end of the day, they're wore out, because it's a hard job every day. I would look at the teachers before I left home from work, look at them. I was in the classroom. I said, man, they've worked hard, they're tired, you know, and they deserve everything they get and more. They don't get enough of what they deserve, they need more, but, you know, we're going to do the best we can to give them what they need. And I hope we continue to do that, and I hope we're all for education, because no matter what you say, I don't want to hear anybody on this board talk about economic development if you're not for education, because education is the framework for economic development. If you don't have education, you'll never get economic development in this area. We got to be educated. We got to educate our kids and get have these jobs. And I just thank you teachers for everything that you do and continue that good work. And we've got to support them, and we got to show them that we support them every way we can. Thank you.
You know, when you follow a fellow that can talk like Steve Bates, there's not much use for me staying. But I echo everything that's been said. Without you, our future is doomed. Our kids don't stand a chance. Mighty proud of the effort that's been put forth, bringing a budget that we can live with and feel better about each other. And then Steve said a lot, and Fred said a lot, and I'm going to echo everything that's been said. And I want to talk about something else. If you have a medical need, anybody that you know, RAM is on the way again next month. They've been coming for 21, I believe, 21 years. They do miracle work, and they are so devoted. A lot of people think that that's second-class medical attention. It's not. You've got senior students, med school, you've got tons and tons of dentists and instructors from UVA and from Charlottesville. Go there, get whatever you need. It pleases me to see our people come and take advantage. Even if it's just glasses, you know. They've got tons and tons and tons of people that can make glasses for you right on the site. Go there or send people there. I've been your representative with RAM ever since they've been coming, and it's important to me to see our people get good medical attention. There's a lot of them don't have any health care, don't have anything at all. They can't even go to the doctor when they've got a sore throat. They don't have money. But they'll take care of them out there. So do what you can do for your community and your neighbor and send them out there. Thank you. Thank you for coming and being here.
Comments, everything's been said.
Okay, that leaves me. First of all, I've spent 36 years in higher education, and I can tell you that Wise County students are well prepared as any students that walks through UVA Wise store. And education is very important to me. But we've heard two things tonight. We need to be good stewards of our money if we're going to make these bond obligations. And that's a primary concern to me, is that we pay our debt and we meet our obligation on these schools. And the second, proper communication. We're not communicating between the school board and the Wise County Board of Supervisors. And it's like the school board wants to make sure they get every dime we feel like that they can pull out of us, why we know that we need to be looking at EMS and all, we hear all these other problems, and it overwhelms us what all we need to do for this county, guys. We need to do so much, and we need like put money in trying to bring new businesses here and focus on economic development. We've got to worry about having rescue squad and fire department set up so they can properly come to you when you have an emergency. So how do we improve communication so that we trust each other better? And I think one of the key things, and we talked about this when I first got on the board, because I know the other school systems have a centralized accounting system and it works better, it's more efficient, it saves, you don't have to have, it saves supervisors and everything. So this county needs a centralized accounting system. Then the numbers are transparent. We know what this, everybody knows, that the school board knows what we're doing, we know what the school board doing. That's communications, and that's what needs to happen. We talked about it, and you know, no one would, you know, the school board wasn't willing to come on with us. I hope they look at that again, because then we would know. But when we get told by an auditor that the school board had prepaid and holding checks for about 1.2 million, and then the teachers tell me they don't have supplies and they don't have aides in the classroom, and I think, why didn't they give that money for supplies and aides in the classroom rather than prepaying their insurance? Some of those prepaids went all the way up to 2021, but there's needs at the school. We need transparency, and we need to give the school every dime they need, but we do not need to give them more when we have a need that we're leaving off at the county level. So I encourage, I'm not going to be on this board, but I encourage that we go to a centralized accounting so everything is transparent. That is true communication, guys. We know what the numbers are, where the money's gone, and it's all there. And that would help a tremendous amount. It would save on HR, it would save on the accounting, it would save on purchasing, it would save on everything. And that's the most efficient thing for this county is a centralized accounting system. And with that, I will end my remarks.
Motion to recess the meeting until
Next Friday.
I know everybody was
Next
having a
Friday.
Friday meeting.
The 21st.
The 21st. Mr. Schoolcraft is going to be out of town starting Tuesday. We can potentially call in. Mr. Adkins is going to be out of town after Friday. Nobody really had any objection with the Friday, the 21st. That's suitable for.
At what time?
At 6 o'clock.
And this is when we'll actually vote on the budget. We could not vote tonight. I know some of y'all may stay here thinking we will vote, but we have to wait a period of time before we can vote. So I need a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, is there a way 6 o'clock on Friday, as you stay more afternoon? 2 o'clock?
Why not?
What's the pleasure?
I always recommend to have meetings so the public can be here. This is a Fridays. I still think evenings are very, that's what transparency is for, is to allow the citizens an opportunity to be here. So that's my recommendation. And I'm citizens Friday, Steve, I agree with you.
You get very few people on Friday.
I agree at 6 o'clock, guys, because that's, if people are working and want to come to the meeting, they can come. And, you know, if there's no ball games, right? Any baseball games or anything, huh?
There's always baseball.
There's always, we can always find something game to go to.
complete clarification of my motion. I made a motion that we recess the meeting until Friday, February. June the 21st at 6 p.m. I'll say.
Okay, Robbie made the motion, Jay second. And we can vote on this, we can go home, is that? So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, we're recessed.